share the template, or do you want me to?
Actually, I just typed it into the agenda here. Can you see the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. So the PD template, and yes, if you don't mind, I'll just kind of jump in.
Oh, it's okay. While you do that, I'm going to pull the template actually up, the one that I've been filling out, so that there's an example.
Sure. So this is actually going to be a report out. I'm sorry, let me back up. Welcome everybody to the February 5th Professional Development Committee meeting. I should probably title this so that when we look back at the recording, we know what the heck is going on. It is Friday. So thanks for everybody for joining. This is being recorded. We will put this on the website when the meeting is done and when it gets downloaded and uploaded. You can find that at 21cclc.com under under committees, and then look for professional development. So that's where it'll be. So this first agenda item is in response to the data that every 21st Century site is asked to submit to VIC. This was the report that was due last September. And it's that summary report of where and how and when people are spending their time educating their staff members that are connected to 21st Century. So when we look at the categories, I have those listed here.
I think it might be helpful because they're all on the actual template. Can I pull the quarterly template up? So if you stop sharing, I'll share.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
And then as you talk, I will manipulate this.
Absolutely. All right. So once so Cassie's got that up. So yes, so we do have the categories. Now let me grab my notes here. Again, those categories are, required, which includes things like bloodborne pathogens, CPR, those district or site requirements that individual sites might have. Committee participation, statewide professional development, which includes impact and workshops, social emotional learning / whole child, family engagement, academic, enrichment, and state professional development from other providers. So for example, if you did a training through the Department of Human Services or Child Care Resource and Referral, or just another department that might be applicable to you and your site, and then out-of-state training, which of course we didn't have very much of that last year. So when we took this information, when we took your report and we compiled it all together, as you can imagine, the required categories were obviously the highest. They did really well. We also had some really good committee participation, which is always good to see, because if you were to submit another RFA application, we actually do that as part of your compliance check. So that's good. That's why committee participation is important. And then actually, we also saw a really good amount of training that was kind of done in that social emotional whole child frame. Our areas that were a little bit lacking included family engagement, academics, and enrichment. So I thought today, and then additionally, we had requests from impact surveys that indicated that people were also interested in having professional development around children's behavior issues, children's mental health, STEM offerings, and then with the caveat that that's not supply intensive or expensive, programming for older youth, more management level offerings, trauma, and then parent communication. So I was hoping that this morning we could spend a little bit of time just maybe having some discussion about ideas that people had as to how the Professional Development Committee can maybe put a little bit more focus on making some statewide or regional professional development trainings available in those kind of 3 areas where we're lower. So again, family engagement, academics, and enrichment, or hitting those training request needs as was indicated by those impacts. So again, the children's behavior issues, mental health, STEM offerings, older youth, management level trauma, and parent communication. So
go ahead.
Yeah, let me be quiet for a minute. I am going to take notes. So if you hear some clacking, that's what that is. But just, what are people thinking?
I was going to open it up by saying, for me, the older port, you did once a year and it came out in September. And so it was that lack of reminder to fill this out as I go. And so by the time when I was doing year end, at the end of the year, then it was like, oh, and this is due. The new form, the one that I had shared with everybody on the last screen, said it was due quarterly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I, although I haven't submitted it anywhere because I wasn't sure where to submit it, but I've been filling it out quarterly. And that my data is so much better. My input is so much better because as I participated in certain things, I just made sure to add it. So kind of like it's a bi-weekly thing now on my calendar to do. So that's helpful. And then the second thing was that I didn't, there really is. So for instance, when I go to like the impact or I do a session on the best practice webinars, I was, I'll put under the category of the committees or under best practice webinars, but I don't necessarily break it out saying that this was a family engagement type of presentation. I categorize it under the committee, the best practice webinar. And then with the state and like the Beyond School Hours conferences next week, I think 2 weeks. And and so I put, so it's virtual, so I can attend, it's not out of state. And I put that all under an out of state training. And so I don't break it up that I attended or my staff attended a family engagement webinar, because those tend to be more inclusive in kind of the bigger conferences.
Yeah, that's a great point. So, so Vic is not on the call today. He had an appointment that he had needed to be off of work for, but let me bring this up with him next week just to see if perhaps we need to provide a little bit more instruction or guidance regarding how to classify those professional development offerings, because that is a really good point. Again, you might be attending a best practice webinar, but if it is in regards to building a high quality enrichment program, yeah, where do you classify it? Is it state PD? Is it enrichment? Is it committee work? Where should you put that? So good point.
Yeah, the last 5 years, I haven't put them under these categories. I put them under I put them under the category, but haven't broken out what I've actually attended.
Sure.
And because you want credit for that, I do the committees, I do the, I do all the required stuff. So I make sure to note that I was there.
Yeah, absolutely. So does anybody else have any thoughts about, ways that we can boost some of these trend areas that are a little bit lacking for us? Feel free to unmute, or if you have a whole bunch of kids there or something, maybe you can pop something into the chat. So while people are maybe thinking, I also wanted to share with you that I've also shared these results with the other committees that I help to kind of facilitate. One of those was the Family Engagement Committee. And we had talked about parent communication that is positive, informative, and flexible is one of their goals for this school year. It's one of their committee goals. So we actually talked at our last Family Engagement Committee about that committee's ability to work with or partner with the professional development committee to maybe think about what a family communication training or opportunity might look like. And there were a couple of suggestions, one of which was Iowa State Extension. They had done a family engagement training series. I don't remember off the top of my head which site it was that used them, but they were very pleased with that training, and they said their staff had a very positive experience going through that. So that might be something that we can also look at too, is partnering with those other committees to be able to come up with some of these gap filling activities. So, any other thoughts? Did I lose everybody? I don't have anybody on my screen right now. Looks like we lost Cassie. Can people hear me? Can you unmute and let me know if you're able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm looking at a blank screen right now, so I just wanted to be
I feel
sure.
that. No, we can hear you. I don't know where Cassie went. I didn't even really know she popped off.
Yeah, I just, all of a sudden it looks like maybe I lost her. And John, welcome to the meeting. So, so let me go ahead and grab this. I'll share the screen until Cassie gets back. So, and again, pardon my kind of incomplete notes as we move along here. Oh, here's Cassie. Ah, Cassie, the joys of technology.
Hi.
All right. Well, thanks for rejoining us. So if nobody has any other thoughts about the trend data right now, and again, if you need some time to think about it, you can always reach out and send an email later if an idea pops into your head and you want to share something, that's perfectly fine. So Cassie, I think we're ready to kind of start talking about our workshops next. And you're on mute.
Okay, I had to go on my phone because my internet shut off. Oh my goodness. Okay, so workshops. Isn't this great? These are so fun, and I'm glad it's recorded so everybody can see all of this. So we did have those former workshops, or the institutes, the summer and fall institute, that we are renaming to workshops. And so we need to look at dates, duration, times on some of these of the two East and West workshops. And so so are we still planning impact well, that's the next one. So I guess there's a lot to talk about, timing wise, and what works, what we recommend as far as different dates for East, West, and for impact, because we didn't have, our whole life is just in disarray. So any thoughts about these different dates? Oh, you have to read. We have a quiet committee today.
Yes, we do.
So good morning, this is John. And I know the last time that we talked about what might be good opportunities, just an FYI, if we look at what we formerly call the Summer Institute, we normally start our summer camp experience, and that goes for about 8 to 9 weeks, and that's normally the second week after school is out. So that would probably, if we're looking at something in person, if virtual, it really doesn't matter. So.
Yeah, thanks for that, John. That's a good reminder. I would like to share with you a discussion that we had the other day amongst the Iowa After School Alliance team, and see kind of what people think about this idea. We had talked about the possibility of identifying a date kind of like late March, early April, where we took maybe like a 3 or 4 hour chunk of time and had multiple presenters. So when we met in person, you know, we would typically start with kind of an introduction or overview from Vic, and he would maybe have some grant updates or something of that nature. And then we would go into these breakout sessions. We were wondering if maybe we couldn't take, you know, a morning or a chunk of time, a 3 hour, 4 hour chunk of time, have a presenter, and I'm kind of making this up at this point, so just bear with me, but like have a presenter at 9, have a presenter at 10, have a presenter at 11, and people could pop in and out for the ones that they were either most interested in or participate in all of them to learn about those things. So for example, on the agenda here, we have opportunities from EverFi, ORID, and then we also have the bullet on here of diversity, equity, and inclusion. What would the committee think about taking a morning, again, late March, early April, and having an overview of those 3 things in particular that would last, you know, say 30 to 60 minutes, and that would be our spring workshop. And then maybe identifying another date, and I'm just throwing this out, this is not set in stone, maybe identifying another date perhaps in June after school is out, but before summer programming starts, where we would invite You for Youth to present on a topic. And if they could maybe even address one of those topics that we kind of have like those lacking areas in, it's kind of like 2 birds in 1 stone, right? So I guess what I'm asking or what I'm proposing is in the past, the workshops, we had one in summer, one in fall. So summer was typically held in Council Bluffs in August, give or take. And then the fall was held in September in Dubuque. Because of COVID, we've been kind of derailed with that. What if we had March, April half-day workshop and then another half-day workshop in June?
From the chat, it looks like people like this. I really like this too.
I think it's a really good idea. I think the only thing we need to avoid is during spring break times, because I don't know about everybody else, but we'll probably be in full day with kids. But otherwise, I think it sounds great.
Yeah, okay.
This is Nikki from Council Bluffs. I like the convenience of that. With on our end, we just have so many part-time staff, and I think this would allow for them to be able to attend some of these professional development opportunities that maybe they don't get because they can't travel because they always need to be at programs in the afternoon. So I think it would be amazing.
Okay, yeah, good.
I agree. It'd be so much easier to block out 4 hours time than an entire day or 2 days. The smaller chunk of time, I think, would be so much easier to do.
Okay, great.
And I think it would be really helpful too if there was a way to where people could pay and then they're recorded, and so they'd have to log in with a password in order to access the recordings. But like a lot of my part-time staff work for the school during the school day, and then they go right into after school. So there's no, like, they can't participate unless I take them out of work. And so, but they need professional development. And I don't know about all of you, but spending PD money this year in our budgets, there's still a lot left because we haven't sent them anywhere. So, so I know, I don't know about you all, but I mean, I have money in PD to spend for a cost associated with a April after Easter break and a June training.
Yeah, so I mean, typically we didn't charge for the institutes in the past. Now you may have had expenses accrued because of travel and hotel stay and things of that nature. So I wonder, I'm wondering what Vic's response to that would be.
Well, I think it'd be nice to know from Vic if he's willing to allow us to roll over professional development money, because in this pandemic year, it's been very difficult to spend, as Cassie said. And if not, then, you know, maybe he would allow us to bring in some for, you know, speaker or some type of PD like we would normally bring into Impact or something like that. That maybe could be shared by all of us in attendance, or I don't know, something.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm feeling you, because again, I remember how
Yeah.
sometimes spending that PD line item was a bit more difficult. And again, like, what a problem to have, right? Because people are offering these trainings for cheap or free, you know, but at the same time, if you have to spend that 5%, it
Well,
does put
you
you a
don't want to
bit
make her give it back, but you know.
Yeah, yeah. So again, I absolutely, I like this direction of conversation. Let me visit with Vic about this, and I'll be happy to just keep the committee in the loop where this is concerned. So yes, let's think about that. All right. Any other thoughts right now regarding, again, kind of that late March, early April, June timeframe?
May I bring up one point on the topics?
Sure.
So on the diversity, equity, inclusion, so there is a training, it's already started, the first class was yesterday, but it's racial equity. It's a 10-hour facilitation training series, a Train the Trainer. And I'm participating in that along with a staff member I have on another grant project. And it's amazing so far. Sometimes it's very philosophical and you wonder how you will apply it, but it was $319 a person, but at the end of the 10-hour training, so it's Thursdays for 4 weeks, you get a certificate that you could now train on racial equity. And man, if you see anything by this oh gosh, what is his, I don't have his name, by this Paul, I'll be sure to send it out to, Paul Gorski and the Equity Literacy Institute. He would make a great, he or his team would make a great keynote or something like that. I mean, it's really fantastic.
The Equity what Institute, Cassie? I'm sorry.
It is the Equity Literacy Institute.
Okay. So to that point, let me also say that, so the Iowa After School Alliance, and I think everybody kind of knows this, but I'm just going to explain this in just a very simplified term this morning. So the Iowa After School Alliance, of course, is the statewide representative for the National After School Alliance here in Iowa. And what makes us a little bit unique is that we have such a close working relationship with Vic at the Department of Education, specifically for 21st Century. So it's phenomenal because it allows us to be able to support that program, support everybody on this call and across the state, give Vic the staff power that he needs to be able to do some pretty inventive and good work and so on and so forth. But 21st Century is not all that the Iowa After School Alliance does. We actually receive some funding and support from other national funders to be able to identify and carry out additional parts of our mission, which includes outreach to non-21st century sites as well. And one of the things that the Iowa After School Alliance's strategic leadership team, which consists of representative volunteers from across the state who kind of take a look at the landscape of out-of-school time in all 99 counties and come up with kind of goals and outcomes and strategies to approach those. Obviously, one of the things that we decided to work on was equity, diversity, and inclusion, right? Because we know that in light of some of the, political and social things that have happened here lately, this is certainly an area that we need to spend some time on. So with that being said, the Iowa After School Alliance has engaged with a presenter based out of Des Moines, I think. And Emily, if you're still on and want to hop in here at any time, that's absolutely fine with me. Malai, and I am not going to be able to come up with her last name right now. She has actually been working with Brittany Samuelson, our network lead, to put together a training of sorts so that we'll be able to address Iowa issues through an Iowa lens, which I think is a very cool thing. So Cassie, I love your suggestion of this Paul Gorski, and absolutely we may look to engage him in some way, shape, or form as well. But I think the one thing that I always appreciate is if you can take local resources and implement local. I love that concept. I'm a small town girl. I buy my groceries as local as I can. I buy my washing machine from the local appliance store if I can, things like that. And I think that this could be a really good thing for making Iowa a strong network too. Emily, is there anything that you would pop in with?
I don't think so. I think that's pretty much where we were at.
Okay. So I wish I had more details today to share with this committee, but I can tell you that it sounds like this training, like I said, will have a nice balance of education, knowledge, awareness, and the inclusion of local resources. So I would very much like to start with this partnership with Iowa After School Alliance with the committee's blessing, and then kind of move towards additional support or education as we see it, because I think this could be a really cool opportunity for us. Does anybody have any thoughts on that? And again, if you can't unmute, maybe pop something into the chat.
I think that's a great idea, Crystal, and what you're working on.
All right. If anybody ever has concerns about any of that, again, never hesitate to reach out to us. So the other bullets on here, this EverFi and ORID, were actually from Cassie's suggestion. So Cassie, do you mind unmuting and just kind of giving people a general explanation about what these two options are? And we can talk about, I think they're fantastic, and I would like to perhaps see them as part of our March, April offering if possible. But if people have reservations or we need to discuss, I think we should probably do that. So.
Sure. I'll start with EverFi. So I guess you could do your raise of hands or thumbs up or something if you want to, if you've heard of them before. But that is an organization that has free programming, and it's online programming, which is wonderful right now, but it's computer programming for our kids. So that what they do is they put out, I think they do maybe every month or every 2 months, a new listing of courses from kindergarten through 12th grade so it's like, if you know, when your kids go on to Clever or they go on to any of the online school day programs that they learn from. So you can pick a course that is available with them, and this is all free. Say the Compassion Project for first through third graders. And then you could say, I want to do this class, and you put it all in your app or online on your computer. And I'm going to do it for my first graders on Tuesdays, and it'll give you a sample of what is the course is about. That it'll take 15 minutes. And so then you can plug in and you can invite your students into it. And so they'll get a link and they can just click on it. You could also register the students yourselves. And since most of us are on one-to-one technology now, our kiddos, that it was just a really nice addition to our, to at least our programs, activities right now. And so they have it on literacy, they have math ones, and they're just really, really well done with videos and questions, and your staff is there to, you know, add an activity at the end or before and do questions on it. But I love it because it meets Iowa standards. There's an educational component, but it's fun. They don't take a whole hour. And so you can easily put it into your program. And I don't know about you, but I hear, you know, from everybody's numbers, and our participation is all over the board. And now with the pivot to 100%, our numbers are all over the board. So it's also a really nice way to introduce a new kind of activity for our kids. And their product offerings are wonderful, and I love that it's free. So we trained our staff in it with the EverFi team, and they love it, and they've started to use it, and I have really great feedback. And everything is trackable, so you get to see when the kids are in it, if they've passed, kind of when they're answering questions, if that's going well. So I thought it was worth talking about and telling everybody about, because who doesn't love, you know, free programming that meets Iowa standards? And while we typically don't do a lot of computer activities, I like that they were kind of short, but they also hit on math, literacy, reading, and you really, you know, when a child's in there doing something on the Compassion Project, they're reading, but also it's read to you. So it really caters to all different children's comprehension levels, and it hits kind of multiple facets. So we had school day teachers who were using it. And so that's why they reached out to me for after school, and I thought it was great. So any questions about EverFi, and then I can tell you about Orid?
That sounds
Just
great to me.
checking the chat real quick here. And I'm sorry, I don't know who I cut off. So sorry about that.
Oh, it's just me. I was just saying it sounds like a good app program.
Yeah. Hi, this is John, and I thanks for clarification, because I saw that. I had never heard of it, but thanks for clarifying what that is. So, and it really sounds like something, you know, especially since our students are have faced all day long with their technology regarding the school day. This sounds like something that we can add to our after-school component, which would allow us to still use technology, but just have a different focus to it while they're still learning.
Yeah, great. Thanks, John.
Yeah, absolutely, John. That's exactly what it is. And I like that it wasn't, you know, it's not like a half an hour project or an hour where they're on the whole time. It's, you know, they're shorter times so that you still have an enrichment activity or a hands-on component that you can add in after or before. So awesome. So that is EverFi. If you want to check them out, I love that it's free. And then Orid. So, oh, go ahead.
I don't know. I don't think anybody was talking there, Cassie. So go ahead.
Okay. So Orid, another grant project that I have is this strategic planning grant, and who I hired for that was talking about this as she's leading collaboration. And Orid is a facilitation framework that enables focused conversation with a group of people in order to reach some point of agreement or clarify differences. And so it's from the Institute of Cultural Affairs, and it's from a book, or you can read about it in a book, The Art of Focused Conversation. And so it's where people can use data to deal with their emotional responses to a topic in order to undertake a better analysis and decision making. So O stands for being objectives. The facts can be seen and heard. R stands for reflective, how people have felt of the topic, what they liked or disliked. I stands for interpretive. What were the issues or challenges? And D stands for decisional. What is our decision or response? So it is a method that applies structure to a thinking process and prevents conversations from drifting aimlessly. And it also validates people's emotional response to the topic that you're discussing. And, you know, right now, I think this is great for PD. I think this is great for all of our leaders, for all of our directors, our site managers, because as we're having kind of different conversations and our society is pretty, you know, there's a lot of emotions going on and that bleed into your classrooms, that bleed into your staff discussions. I mean, Crystal and I started out our PD with one of those kinds of conversations. And so I think it's great for leaders, but also our staff to know how to have a conversation or facilitate a conversation or be part of a conversation where we are kind of steering it or helping with being reflective with how to move beyond the emotion. And with diversity and equity training, and whether we're coming back to school and the vaccine and so many topics right now, I thought this is wonderful. I love this approach to learn something new about how to have conversation, from staff meetings to with our students, you know, with each other. So that's the ORID method. And Jennifer Lehman, who works for the school district, she is certified in this training. And so, you know, so it's somebody local we can have talk about and lead us on this. So that's what this is.
All right. Any thoughts about that?
And I'm not offended if you should say, like, I don't think that has a place here.
So again, if people are okay with this, the way my brain is kind of working at the moment is maybe what we do is we take that March, April potential workshop date, and again, give each of these, you know, an hour. I think an hour will probably do it. Some of them might actually even be shorter. So does that sound like an okay plan? You know, if we have, I don't know, I'm just going to say, you know, if we had EverFi present at 9 and ORID at 10, and then wrap it up with the diversity training starting at 11, and then maybe think about like that 3 to 4 hour time frame. Does that sound agreeable to people?
Yes, I think so. And Cassie, I agree. I think that, I mean, I'm interested to look into this ORID framework, but I think it definitely has a place in our professional development.
Crystal, I
John.
think,
This is John, and I agree as well. Sounds good.
Crystal,
Okay.
this is Jane. I think Steve Conlon would maybe be a contact. I think the ISACA group might also be interested in trying to join forces in this.
Yeah, Steve is actually a member of the Iowa After School Alliance Strategic Leadership Team. So we'll certainly make that group aware. And then, yes, I will certainly be communicating with Steve, because we do try to kind of do a back and forth with ISACA as much as we possibly can, because, you know, we both have fantastic missions to help kids
Sure.
and to help providers with kids. So yeah,
Yep.
Thank you for that reminder though, Jane.
bet.
So, okay, great. Any other thoughts on, oh, I'm sorry. And then of course we think about a June and having You for Youth present on a topic to be determined. So that's going to be kind of our general outline. So I'm also going to ask the group here one more thing just to collect your thought on this. If we were to do this like 3 to 4 hour half day, is there a day of the week that works better for people, do you think? I know that's a loaded question because somebody's going to say Mondays work for me and Fridays work for me and whatnot. But generally speaking, does somebody have a sense for a day of the week that might feel better or be better for the network overall?
So this is John, and this is just one of those things that we try and do. So, especially coming off of the weekends, trying to keep that Monday clear, just so you're dealing with those types of things. But I would say any other day is probably doable. Just seems like Mondays can be somewhat hectic, and just trying to get the kids back into the flow of things and trying to resolve whatever may have come up at the end of that previous week and getting ready for the upcoming week. So.
Okay, good plan. Any other thoughts on the day of the week?
I always like Tuesdays for whatever reason. Wednesdays seem to be kind of crazy, and Thursdays, ton of meetings. I don't know. I just thought I'd give you an opinion since you asked.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Again, there's never going to be a date that works for everyone, but it's good to start with. So, and then my kind of last question to that is, I threw out kind of like the 9 to noon, 12:31 time frame. Is that an okay time frame? Is that too early? I mean, obviously, I know we need to avoid the out of school times, before school and after school. So what's the happy medium there?
Hey, Crystal, this is John. What about a 10 o'clock? 10 o'clock seems to be, it gives you a couple hours at least to get on site, get set in, and maybe 10 o'clock. I don't know how that works for everybody else, but at least it's early enough in the day and would still give us that, over the lunchtime or, put you in that 3-hour range. I don't know, just that 10 o'clock just seems to be, gives you opportunity to get in and get things situated and then get ready for your meeting.
Yeah, I can live with that if others feel the same.
We're good with whatever at CV. I do like leaving the Mondays open. I agree with John. Mondays tend to be a little bit crazy on our end as well. And we get out early on Mondays. So our programming is at all like 3 different times for elementary, middle school, and high school. So we're usually covering somewhere for someone. But yeah, I like the 10 o'clock too. I mean, that gives, like you said, it gives people some time to get settled and get ready to go.
Sure. And I mean, we could certainly build in just maybe a quick break for lunch, or maybe a shorter break where people could get their lunch and come back, if that makes sense too. So I mean, I eat in front of my computer all the time. I don't know how people feel about that, but is anybody concerned about lunch?
No, I'd prefer a shorter break if possible. It just helps keep the day tight.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, a 10-15-minute break, or 10-minute preferred. I mean, you can grab your lunch and then just keep watching.
Yeah. Okay, so let me kind of play around with dates and schedules, and I will follow up with the committee just through email. So if you just kind of maybe watch your inbox this next week, let me know some feedback if you feel like it's good, bad, too tight, whatever. We'll try to come up with something that we can all agree with and just kind of go from there and see what happens, if that's okay. All right. So Cassie, I think we're now ready to move on to impact discussion, which seems crazy that we're talking impact the entire, I feel like we just finished that, but.
Yeah, so impact would be next. So say we've got this April, June, so then it's this conversation, and we've had this conversation in the past, this committee, about it was always in April, and then we kind of discussed the fall when COVID hit, and personally, I really love this at the beginning of a school year so that it sets everybody up for a successful school year as opposed to the school year's over. And then we have PD. So I really like a fall. I mean, and you could keep these kind of March, June, October, moving forward just as our world has shifted. But, so that's one conversation, is when to have it, pros and cons of the spring and fall, and then just what kind of model. So I guess first, any, specific pros or cons. I kind of listed mine that I really like, the fall for those pros and cons reasons. Anybody else?
Fall's good with us. I do like that option.
Can I ask the group just a little kind of behind the scenes thing? The week that we had impact this past fall, so September 30th, October 1st, October 2nd, we did actually run up against I believe it was the Early Childhood Conference, and there was, I think, one other conference in there too. From a planning perspective, I feel like October has a lot of conferences already. How does this committee feel about the possibility of September, or is that too crazy because you're really getting into the swing of things at that school year? Any immediate thoughts about that? All right, we got a chat here. Later
Yep,
September?
I would be good with a later September.
Okay. I agree. I think I do think October is ideal because that gives you about a month to kind of get your feet and then have some good PD. But I also just kind of want to see what the options look like here too. So, okay. So Nikki says later September would be great too. Okay. Okay. Any other pros or cons that, we need to maybe think about as a committee?
And hearing none, I'll move us into that hybrid model. That is definitely an option where we offer an in-person, but also a virtual. Personally, the virtuals have been fantastic as far as being able to get more done. It's such a time saver. Being accessible to your programs. I really have loved it, but I know I miss the in-person and all that. But with still so much unknown, I love a virtual, but we could definitely, should we explore the hybrid where some people can come and some people can do virtual? So what are thoughts out there and recommendations if we have a kind of a hybrid conference in September?
I would throw out that I do think Vic is leaning pretty heavily towards this option. And I'm not necessarily opposed to it. There will be some logistical things that we would need to think through, but I think we're just kind of in a world position now where, moving forward, we are eventually going to have to get back to some semblance of normal, right? But at the same time, I think you're probably still going to have some people whose comfort level is just not quite there yet. And I mean, again, you read all sorts of things, you hear all sorts of things in the media. It sounds like if we can get more vaccinations rolled out, we'll have some more reasonable public ventures perhaps in the fall. but I would say that, you know, this might be kind of the wave of the future. So again, if you have those people, especially people who are dealing with some health considerations, you know, that are just much more comfortable, you know, being at home or wherever feels safe to them, that allows them the ability to join in for PD, that might be a good thing to think about. I don't know. I'm sorry, I was trying to find the chats here too.
Yeah, it sounds like, you know, exactly, Nikki said exactly what you were kind of saying. So it sounds like offering a hybrid is the way to go. Start it and see what happens. And at least you have both formats. Running some hybrid models of PD this year. I'm happy to help on the tech support side. It's, you know, it's the right microphones and the right camera and, you know, and inviting people to speak by the microphone that you have so that the people at home can hear you. You know, I mean, there's definitely some challenges, but it's doable.
Yeah. So it sounds like that could just take some planning and exploration and whatnot. So but I think that is probably a good, at least for now, it's a good way to approach it. Now, if we get a couple more months down the road and maybe we hear some new information about vaccines or different strains or whatever, and it causes us to maybe think, oh, maybe one more year of 100% virtual is the way to go, we can always address that at that point then too. So, so the last two bullets with this one, I guess in my mind, Kathy, I was just treating these as more of a FYI and information sharing. So as the committee knows, we're always looking for presenters for those workshops. We're looking for those keynotes. So I would just ask that if anybody has immediate ideas, you know, we can certainly share them here, but then also shoot me an email and just let me know, I participated in this and this person's great, or, I've really been thinking about family engagement and it would be great to have this presenter, those types of things. Again, if we want to have a keynote on diversity, equity, and inclusion, let's maybe think about that, So with that being said, I don't know if anybody has immediate thoughts that you want to either share out or drop into the chat for presenters, or again, feel free to email that information to me. So. Okay.
And in light of time, I mean, if we stay till 10 o'clock, we got about 4 minutes. So I think many of us have probably been participating in a lot of exciting and not so exciting virtual PD. And so I've been able to participate in things I never would have been able to do before. I attended the National Mentoring Summit, which I wanted to go to since 2005. And this year it was virtual. So I was able to listen in, and I got to listen to Dr. Rhodes, and I was like, oh my God, because I'm a research nut. So, I think we probably can think about different things that we've participated in and different speakers, and it might be good to send out to the network, like, have you heard about it? Have you participated in anything unique that there's a speaker that you think we should contact? Especially because so much is affordable now with having them virtually attend. But and then so then it just on the reminders. So those A+ after school awards, I think we've all probably seen that email. So make sure to keep that in mind and recommend. I guess you can recommend yourself too. So recommend someone for those awards. And I wasn't sure the URL reminders.
Yeah, this is just a general reminder that Vic has asked us to share with all of our committees in the months of January and February. And that is for your local evaluation documents. You are reminded that you need to provide the URL where you can find your most current local evaluation document, but also you should also be able to find past local evaluation documents at that URL as well. So Vic just wanted us to remind all of the committee members, because of course, then it's a wider reach and it's documented in several places. So if you have not sent your URL to Vic, please get that taken care of as soon as possible.
And then lastly, our success to barriers in general, and we have, a minute. So, I mean, I think really for all of, I will say this, and I'll have Crystal share, but just, support one another, support your family, support your kids, and I send well wishes to everybody out there after school and school, and it's a crazy time, and in our state, in all states, but in our state, and so we're all going to have a lot of challenges and hoops, and hopefully we find humor, because otherwise I think we'll all cry and cuddle up in a ball. So just, and with the weather hitting as it is as well, it's going to be an interesting couple weeks. So that is how I feel about your success and barriers.
And again, we had a lot on the agenda this time, so perhaps we can really kind of hit our successes next time if we have a little bit more wiggle room. So looks like Heidi has to jump off, which is fine. Kathy, is there anything else you want to share with those remote virtual PD opportunities?
Nope, just remember to keep Crystal in the loop. So anything that you have seen, there's just a ton of things out there right now. You could go to probably a virtual PD every day. So just
it's true.
Yeah.
So I will also put in just one last plug. February 17th is the next in the Iowa After School Alliance Million Girls Moonshot supported professional development series for our STEM. The topic this time is how to engage that peer role modeling mentality to better support your STEM program. So if you're interested in that, I've sent out several emails, but if you need the link again, go ahead and let me know and I'll be happy to get that out to you. So with that being said, thank everybody for your time. Again, I'll clean up these notes and I'll get this recording uploaded. Look for it to be done either later today or first thing Monday. But again, thanks so much, everybody. Appreciate your time. Stay safe, stay warm. Good Lord, it's going to be cold. So I will go ahead and stop the share, and I'm going to stop the recording.